This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about what flavors of Slurpees they would have at a 7-Eleven on Mypos. We wonder if 24-year-olds looked a lot older in 1986, and we try to describe the Dance of Joy. All that and more as we rewatch Season 1, Episode 6 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers Rewatch podcast. I'm Sophia. I'm one of your hosts for this wonderful podcast, and joining me is my co-host, who also happens to be my brother. What's up, Imran?
Hi, Sophia. How's it going? I am excited to talk about our favorite show growing up with my favorite sister, who also happens to be my only sister, but you're still my favorite.
Aw, you're my favorite brother, too.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm super excited. We're at the season 1 finale. Now, it's only the 6th episode, but again, the first season was truncated, but I'm super excited because it's a great episode, and season 2 is even more exciting.
You know, what's funny is that in the Rewatch podcast, I would think it's like a great accomplishment to get to the end of season 1. That's when you celebrate.
We made it.
We made it. We just happened to pick a show that only had 6 episodes. You know what? It's a cheap win, but I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I'll take that cheap win.
I'll take it. Season 1, episode 6, the finale is called Happy Birthday Baby.
Yeah, so these guys really like using 2 things: song titles for episode titles, and apparently they really love the word baby in the title.
They do. We're going to see that again. Yeah.
Well, we had before, Baby You Could Drive My Car. Happy Birthday, Baby. This is a 1957 song written by Margot Sylvia and Gilbert Lopez, originally performed by the Tune Weavers, their only hit. So for you old timers, you may know who those people are. I do not.
And in fact, the show in general, music is a big theme throughout
really
in popular songs. So we need to investigate that.
I appreciate that. I love it.
We need to look into whether the writers or the producers or the directors, like who was it that was like a big music buff?
Like the Bronson Pinchot come up with the songs to sing, and it, like, wouldn't it be funny if I sang this? I don't know. Somebody.
That's homework for us. Listener, yes. We will come back to you with that information.
If you cracked open the TV guide there, Sophia.
What's a TV guide?
Well, it's that thing where they print the listings on paper of the television. It's that thing on the internet. They printed it out on the paper. They used to.
It was a book version of the internet?
Just like the library is like the internet printed on pages in book form. It was a thing you needed to subscribe to or buy to find out when your favorite show was going to be on and what that episode was going to be about. And for us, it was kind of like how you were going to plan your primetime weeknights throughout the week.
It was kind of like a weekly magazine, but it was with newsprint inside. The pages were
the smell. I love the smell.
The cover was glossy. These are all details for the younger generation who don't remember.
I love it, like the smell of comic books, just ink on newsprint, like just takes me back to a kid. Anyways, if you crack over the TV guide, the description would have read, Balky plans a surprise birthday party for Larry, who's in no mood to celebrate after his first photo sale to a newspaper falls through. Wah, wah, of course.
Wow, there's a lot going on in that one summary line. Perfect Strangers, of course. This episode, like almost all the others, was directed by Joel Zwick, written by Chip Keyes and Doug Keyes. This episode aired on April 29th, 1986, and Perfect Strangers is created by Dale McRaven and, of course, starring everyone's favorite Bronson Pinchot and everyone's other favorite Mark Lynn Baker.
Yeah, let's get into it. Act 1 of this episode opens, of course, again at Ritz.
The mystery discount store.
That sells just everything you need. Larry is nervously waiting for a very important phone call, and we get 2 quick Balkyisms right at the top. You love watching Larry's ensemble there, Sophia.
Larry wears a lot of green, doesn't he? So it's not we've noted in previous episodes how much mint green Larry tends to wear, but this time it's more of a forest green.
Forest green. I bet his closet looks like a Skittles bag. Just like, do you think he's so
bright colors in the 80s, but a lot of greens?
I bet he groups them all by color. I could just see because he's neurotic.
Larry would totally organize his closet.
Everything's Roy G. Biv.
And his bookshelf.
Yeah, in the closet.
But that's kind of like an in thing these days to organize your bookshelf by color.
By color, yeah. That's a very, what's her name?
Marie Kondo.
Marie Kondo. It's a very new thing, so he probably wouldn't have thought about that back then.
Definitely in the 80s, it would have been your closet.
As he's waiting for a phone call, Balki comes in and goes for the phone. Larry stops him, says, Balki, use the phone. I'll break a bone.
And here's our first Balkiism. He goes, boy, somebody got up on the wrong side of the flock.
Which
everything's about sheep with him.
I'm sure Balki has actually gotten up on the wrong side. You get kicked in the face with a hoof when that happens.
I mean, that's like really getting up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the younger millennial listeners, Larry's holding a landline phone. If you don't know what that is, it even has a rotary dial. Like, I think it has a rotary dial with a coiled cord. Look, if you're too young to remember, phones were big and heavy, and you couldn't take them with you. You had to be at home to get a phone call. Isn't that a weird concept? And when the phone was ringing, you didn't know who was calling you. Yeah. It was just a crapshoot. You're like, I don't know. Who could this be? Anyways, the phone rings while Larry is cradling it, waiting for this call, and he picks up the whole base of the phone and answers it to the side of his face. Of course, hilariously, he eventually gets the receiver and talks to a guy, and he gets good news. Larry hangs up and says, this may be the greatest day of my life, which leads to our second Balkiism of the episode.
Balki says, now you happy? What is this, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Heckle?
That's great. Obviously, so he was going for the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I guess he read that book back in Mypos. Classic.
Sure. This is a classic Balki combining two references that sound.
Did you know what this reference is, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Heckle?
Well, for one, Heckle just rhymes with Jekyll, and it's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde reference.
Yep.
But tell me what the other reference is.
So Heckle and Jekyll are two cartoon crows from the 40s, from the popular Terrytoons list of characters. Terrytoons also famously created Mighty Mouse. And I kind of remember, I'll put this graphic in the show notes. I found a picture of Heckle and Jekyll. Remember Deputy Dog? I kind of remember watching these. These are really old cartoons.
Now, I'm looking at this picture that you're going to post of Heckle and Jekyll, and it's kind of giving me a vibe of the Spy versus Spy cartoons. Are these the same?
No, but their heads are shaped the same.
Their heads are shaped the same.
They look
these
exactly
are not the same crows. No. Okay. Were those even crows in Spy versus Spy?
They were spies. They were just like people with long snouts.
With
I don't know.
Crow faces.
I don't know what they were. They weren't even. They were just.
It just reminds. In my head, they're mixed together. But yeah, super. I don't remember this Heckle and Jekyll like vaguely.
It's very old. It's a very old 40s cartoon.
So it's so interesting. Some of the references in this show go back so far.
I know.
Even well before 1986.
So the good news Larry got, Sophia, was the Chicago Weekly Gazette wants to buy Larry's picture of a burning building. He's going to get paid his first paid photo. Can you imagine Larry running around a burning building taking photos? That's kind of crazy. How close did he get?
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the daredevil
like
type.
The risk taker. Yes.
Right. He seems very scared.
I would think he would be great in those guys who do risk management for like insurance companies where they know every possible outcome and they'll tell you what's the least riskiest. That's what Larry would be now.
That's what he is,
That's what the job he should do.
But no, he works at Ritz Discount.
He's
trying to become
dreams.
a photojournalist.
Photojournalism.
But he's very happy. He's very happy. He finally, it looks like he's about to get his first paid photo. And here we have an extra special first for Perfect Strangers.
This is it.
This is it. This is what at least you and I have been waiting for.
This moment for 6 episodes, Sophia.
And here it is, our namesake, our podcast namesake. Balki says to Larry, "Oh, cousin, you are a professional picture taker. It's your dream come true. Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy.
Yay! Balky begins. He flips the one leg over, and Larry stops him immediately. He goes, Balky, photojournalists must maintain a modicum of dignity. And he gives it a beat, and he goes, let's boogie. And he grabs him, and they do the very first full dance of joy on the
first
air
time
for the
ever.
first time, and it goes a little something like this, listener.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy. Die, 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 die. Hey, 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 hey.
So how would you describe that dance? Because we're on an audio podcast.
Yes,
and that's a very visual dance.
If I was to explain this dance step by step, step one, you grab your partner by the shoulders.
So two people facing each other.
Two people face each other.
Hands on
hips and shoulders, like one person picks, right? And then
right. One person's hands are on the other person's hips. The other person's hands are on that person's shoulders.
You're going to jump and lift your leg and flip it out and kick to one side.
Both on the same side. So if I was facing you, my left would be kicking
right.
and your right would be kicking.
And then alternate side.
And you kick back and forward. It's so hard to describe.
And then the hey
then
part,
you go to the
that's
other
the
side.
die, die, die part. The die, die, die is kicking back and forth. The hey, hey, hey is you each alternating jumping up and down. And then the final move is Larry jumping into the arms of Balky. And the first time is great because there's people in the background and they start applauding. And Balky puts Larry down and they're all embarrassed. They fix their clothes. It's hilarious.
But if that description made no sense to you, listener, please go on YouTube. Maybe we'll put a link in the show notes.
To the Dance of Joy in the show notes.
It's a very happy dance. It is truly a joyful dance. And it is why we chose to name our podcast.
Also, I like how Larry knows the dance. Like he respects Balky's culture so much that he's already accustomed, knows the dance right away, knows all the steps.
Well, presumably Balky has taught it to him.
Yes,
by this point.
We don't know.
When we don't know. Now, here's a fun fact.
Yeah.
Bronson Pinchot and Marklyn Baker said in a more recent interview, like within the past few years, because there has been a resurgence of interest in this show. So they've been doing some interviews. Somebody asked about the Dance of Joy, and they said that in that episode, in the script, it just said, do the Dance of Joy. and no details of what that was. It said they made it up in about 20 seconds, and they just did it, and it stuck.
Wow.
And that was the Dance of Joy forever and ever.
I'm not surprised because their chemistry from the get-go, these guys were just right there together with each other all the time. And I could just see them. They just look at each other.
They just look at each other. They knew what to do. And they started dancing.
And they just felt they're like, do this. And it's so
And that's exactly
funny.
how they described their working relationship in those interviews too. Like they finish each other's sentences. They knew what each other were thinking on how to do scenes and stuff like that.
Bronson really, he insults Marklyn Baker so much in these later interviews. If you watch any of the new ones, he's always constantly.
Yeah, it's all good fun.
But MLB throws it back too. He can take them, and then he just laughs. He guffaws. So
they seem like they have a lot of fun.
Larry is super excited. He goes, "This is a terrific birthday present." What? It's Larry's birthday. Oh my God. Balky says, "Happy birthday." Larry says, "Thank you."
Okay, I have a question for you though. At this point, when you first watched this or rewatched this episode the first time, I know that you and I both watched these a few times, but when you first rewatched this episode and you heard it was Larry's birthday, at that moment, how old would you have imagined Larry was turning?
Okay, because he reveals it later in the episode. But when I watched this again recently now, I thought he was like in his 30s. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, he looks like a man in his late 20s, early 30s.
Okay, so here's the reveal. He is meant to be turning 24.
What?
Yeah.
So is it us that we grew up and because if you look at a 24-year-old today, they're just still a child living at home. I don't know. So many
things look at different. Larry's apartment. It's very like he has his own place. It's got a couple bedrooms. It's like well decorated. Like what 24-year-old?
I think Marklyn Baker was actually 31 while he was doing this.
According to the Wikipedias, Bronson Pinchot is 61 right now, and Marklyn Baker is 66, which means that
34
Balky
years ago
in 1986 was 27, and Larry was 32 32.
Oh, he was actually 32. But just in general, look, here's the thing. When I was little, I didn't, I'm 44 now, and this is not what I thought 40-year-olds looked like when I was little. Right? I thought they were a lot older. And now I'm like, these people don't look 24. But it is like Saved by the Bell. Like all those kids, they weren't teenagers. Like they do this all the time. Sometimes they actually hire legit teenagers. Usually people are older.
So anyway, it's Larry's 24th birthday.
It's his 24th birthday. Balky goes, happy birthday. What did you get me? And then we find out that in Mypos, the tradition is you have to give people presents on your birthday.
So actually, I've lived a couple other places, spent some time in other countries. In several other countries, there is that tradition. When it's your birthday, you're the one that brings like champagne and cake to the office. You're the one. It's like when you're in grade school, when it's your birthday, you bring cupcakes for everyone, that sort of thing.
Oh.
But that carries on into adulthood. But it's a funny thing in this episode to juxtapose those two traditions. And Larry says to him, of course, no, in America, it's an American birthday tradition. You get presents on your birthday. Haven't you ever heard of that?
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
There you go.
Then Balky goes, I suppose this means you also didn't bake me a cake?
So funny. Sweet, innocent Balky.
Balky's like, just kidding. I'm just kidding. I forgive you. And he's like, cousin, why are you not telling me it was your birthday? Larry explains that he wasn't in the mood to celebrate. He says,
why didn't you tell me it's our birthday?
Oh, that's right. He goes, why you don't tell me it's our birthday? It's a collective birthday. Larry wasn't in the mood. So that's why he didn't tell anyone. When perfect cue, my favorite Ernie Sabella, Twinkie said he walks in with two digs real quick back to back. He walks in, he goes, well, look here. If it isn't Tweedledum, and he looks at Balky, and Tweedledummer. And I think in 1986, this must have been the first instance of someone making the Tweedledum and Tweedledummer joke. Do you think somebody made this before 1986? I feel like they broke this open on Perfect Strangers.
Maybe. We're going to have to do some more research into that. But it's still funny. It still holds up. Tweedledum and Tweedledummer. And Balky's very excited. He can't be bothered with insults. He says, Mr. Twinkassetti, good news. And he tells him that Larry has sold a photograph and Larry's feeling proud. And Twinkassetti, of course, takes the opportunity to once again crush his dreams. And he says, you're going to grow old and gray, busting your butt for me right here until you die. Grim, isn't it?
Grim, isn't it? Oh, I love Ernie Sabella. Just crushing people's dreams, Ernie Sabella. That's what you do. Twinkassetti. But not even Twink can damper Larry's mood.
He's too excited.
He's too happy. He runs off as Susan and Tina enter. Oh, Susan, still around. This may be the last we see of her.
Susan's still here. We don't know much about her. She's still here. And who is Tina?
Well, Tina is a friend of Susan's. You don't find out much, and also don't get used to her.
She seems to be someone that Balky and Larry know that they've known for a while.
Well, I'll tell you right now, listener.
We just haven't heard of her.
This episode is a one and done for Tina. She is never, this is the first and last appearance, never to be seen again. But Balky tells Susan it's cousin Larry's birthday. And Susan goes, oh, let's throw him a surprise birthday party. Balky goes, oh, good idea. When? Don't tell me. I want it to be a surprise.
Classic surprise birthday party joke.
So cute. He's adorable.
He's adorable. The next scene we see, they're at the apartment. There's a banner up that says, happy birthday, cousin Larry. They're putting out food and party favors.
Did you notice on the banner, he spells Larry wrong? First of all, it says cousin Lary, which is how he pronounces it, Larry. But then also, I like the little detail of they made the letters look like Greek letters. Because that's how Balky would write out. He just writes it in sharp-pointed Greek letters.
Yeah.
Like they always look like Greek letters.
And then there's another funny Balky line here where he picks up one of those noisemakers, one of those things you blow in and the paper uncurls. Like that.
I have noisemakers.
And he's like, what this?
Listen, everyone.
And he plays this and it surprises him. He takes a little jump back. He goes, only in America. You know, in Mypos, to do that, we had to squeeze a frog. It does sound like
that's a frog.
Not that I've ever squeezed a frog, but I imagine that's what it would sound like.
Suddenly, Susan and Tina notice out the window that Larry's home early.
Oh, no.
Balky has to shoo everyone out. He's like, I'll hide everything. And he starts hiding things. He takes the bowl of peanuts and puts it in his pocket, of course. Great place for it. And then he takes the bags of potato chips, hides them under the cushion. I'm sure that won't be an issue later.
No, and what a weird place to hide bags of potato chips.
The first place he thought is put the potato chips under a sofa cushion. Okay.
And Susan and I already forgot her name. Susan and Tina. So they rush out to like go get the other people. Balky's like putting all the food away, and Larry comes home. He is not happy. He's super grumpy.
Oh, you don't say. Larry's grumpy. Wow, what a shocker.
Super grumpy. Yeah. And he, of course, comes in, goes straight for the Maylocks in the refrigerator.
He's got a spoon this time, though.
He does have a spoon this time. And he's grumpy, and he says they didn't want his photo after all. So his dream has been shattered. So there's this very funny physical comedy bit where he grabs the Maylocks, he goes over to the couch, he's grumpy, and Balky's in the back trying to hide. He rips down the banner.
Before he sees it, yes.
Before he sees it, trying to hide all the signs of the party. And Larry's about to sit on the potato chips, and Balky very, very smoothly pushes him over to the other side of the couch.
He just glides him over, and Larry doesn't even notice that he's been moved slowly. So he has the spoon for a while, but if you notice, once he puts the Maylocks down and the scene starts to cut back and forth, the spoon is gone. The spoon disappears. It's
now,
like the Matrix.
Maylocks, of course, if you're just joining us for, if you haven't listened to our previous episodes, the Maylocks, of course, is a running trope with Larry. He is a young man, but the image is that he stresses himself out so much that he gives himself indigestion. So it's an antacid. It comes in a white bottle, and we see several times throughout the show where he goes to the refrigerator and just chugs it out of the bottle.
I think Larry may have an addiction problem. I feel like he's addicted to antacid.
To antacid.
And then Balky learns a new word. He learns about nepotism. Because the picture they used, the guy happened to live next door to the publisher's barber. He goes, talk about your nepotism. To which Balky goes, well, I'd love to talk about my nepotism, but I don't know what that is. And Balky will never learn what that is because Larry doesn't explain it. He says they ended up using a picture of a baby in the burning building, and the baby wasn't even that cute.
Larry is giving up at this point. He's like, I'm not good at anything. He gets up to put his jacket away. He throws his jacket toward the hook. Another repeated joke in this show. And he misses the hook. The jacket falls to the ground.
Nothing
and he
goes
just
well.
Looks,
Larry's a failure. He can't even.
And he like holds his head in his hand
so
like, I can't do anything right.
He can't. He's such a failure. He goes, I may as well throw my master plan right out the window. Balky goes, no. You don't throw your master plan right out the window. What is a master plan? And then I love this. He goes, don't they have anything on Mypos besides sheep, Larry asks. Balky goes, well, we got a 7-Eleven. Oh my God.
Mypos has a 7-Eleven.
So Mypos has exactly one car, and it has one 7-Eleven. This is what we've learned so far.
What? I mean, who do you think's running that 7-Eleven?
Oh, I'm sure it's Balky's uncle. They're all related. What do they have in the 7-Eleven?
What do they have in the Do they have Slurpees?
Do they rent videos like they did back in the day in the 7-Eleven? What flavor Slurpees are in the Myposian 7-Eleven?
Oh, it would be like pig snout Slurpees.
Yes, goat's milk and cheese, chocolate and crickets. I don't know.
Well, we're only on episode 6. We haven't really gotten super into Myposian cuisine. But we will. Stick with us into season 2.
All of the Slurpees are olive oil based. I think so. Anyways, Balky and Larry go and sit on the couch. And at this point, Balky has no choice but to sit directly on the chips.
Making a loud crunching sound, of course.
And then Larry looks over and Balky plays it off like he's clearing his throat, where Larry pats him on the back. And then he like wipes his nose and wipes it on his pants. And you can tell he wants to crack up right there.
Yeah.
This is the first. It'll get worse. Just wait, listener. It's the first of Bronson Pinch show. You can tell he's about to just crack and he's trying to hold it together.
And of course, we've mentioned this before. These two actors have said that they both came from like a theater tradition, acting on stage, and they had a live audience for this show, but they talked about how for a lot of the physical comedy, they wanted to do all their scenes in one take.
Nail it the first time for the audience reaction.
So that the audience would be genuine in reacting to it on their first time. So that's why we see so many times, especially in this episode, where they're trying, one or the other of them are trying to hold back laughter.
And I think it's great that the show producers use these clips.
Yes.
Like, they didn't shy away from showing the cracking, and it just makes you love them so much more.
Larry's explaining his master plan, and Balki says, okay, so at 24, you were supposed to sell a photograph. And here we have a little insight into how Larry's mind works. He says, no, at 24, I was supposed to win a Pulitzer Prize. I was supposed to sell my first photograph when I was 16.
Wow, lofty
goals.
goals.
So he's super goal-oriented.
Is this
from
unrealistic,
a young age.
Sophia? You are the career-minded person more than me.
Yeah, this is not healthy for a young person to have goals like
to put this pressure on yourself at 24.
Too much pressure. That's why he has indigestion all the time.
That's why he's chugging Malox every night. So Balki's trying to make him feel better. He's like, maybe, Cousin Larry, you want to hang out with some friends. Maybe, I don't know, a party will help you feel better. And he goes, are you nuts? I don't even want to hear the word birthday. At which point he throws a pillow trying to get on the chair, and he misses the chair. Let's call back to the jacket.
Which is so funny. Like, they're highlighting Larry's sense of failure by the fact that he can't throw things on other things.
I can relate to that.
Which is such a little thing, and it's so funny.
You know what? I'm not good at sports either. So I can relate to that. So Larry goes, thank God I didn't tell anyone it's my birthday, at which point there's a knock on the door. Remember, there's party goers, and Balki goes, this could get ugly, as it fades to the first commercial break. I think it's interesting how Act 2, it starts right where Act 1 ended, and there's because usually when there's the commercial break, it'll be time has passed.
Right.
Not this time.
Not this time. So Act 2, here we go. Balki is trying to shoo everyone away at the door. He opens the door just a smidge, and he's like, go away. And then closes it before Larry can see that there's people on the other side. He convinces Larry, okay, maybe you should just go to sleep. You're upset. So Larry turns around and he leaves, and he opens the door again, and he tries to shoo people out, and Larry turns around and comes back. He closes the door real quick, and Larry says, I can't sleep. I'm hungry.
Balki goes, well, what about some peanuts? As he reaches into his pocket and just gives him a loose handful of peanuts to Larry. So funny.
And Larry thinks about it. He takes the peanuts and then he says, why have you got peanuts in that pocket? And Balki says, because I have a squirrel in this one. Which is so funny.
Quick thinking by Balki there. And then Larry's just like, why did I ask? And just dismisses him. But then he grabs his coat. He goes to hang his jacket in the closet as Balki is objecting and trying to distract him. Why?
He's objecting because that's where the balloons are hidden.
Which you see as Larry opens the door to the closet, looking at Balki, and all the balloons float up just and clear just in time so that he doesn't see them float up. And then as he turns to hang his jacket, Balki shoves him in the closet, closes the door, and props a chair up to lock him in the closet.
So Larry's now shoved into the closet, and he's locked in there. So we hear Larry from the closet screaming and yelling like, Balki, get me out of here. In the meantime, Balki opens the front door, and there's a whole crowd of people, and they're like, happy birthday, you invited us, let us in. He's like, no, I made a big mistake. Stupid Balki, stupid Balki. He's like hitting himself in the head. He's like, go away, the party's off. And he closes the door, and that's it. That's the rest of the party people. They go away.
That's the last you're going to see of Tina and Susan, by the way, I believe. So then Balki returns, takes a deep breath, and opens the closet door and takes a big step back as Larry marches out straight up to his face with the Larry catchphrase. Don't you ever do that again. And this whole scene, Bronson Pinchot is trying to hold his things together.
Trying not to laugh. So there's this very intense, face-to-face. Larry's in his face. And there's a pause. There's no talking. And it's just Bronson Pinchot, contorting his face, trying not to laugh.
You know how you can tell? You watch his mouth.
Yes.
His mouth is going from straight to smile, and he's just wiggling like a worm
the whole time.
He cannot keep it. And he goes, don't you ever do that to me again? And he's trying not to laugh, and he goes, Do what?
Because
you locked me in the closet. Balky goes, no, I didn't. He goes, what do you mean you didn't? You shoved me in the closet, you locked the door. Balky, again, he's trying not to laugh. He goes, no way.
This is
so funny.
And he goes, I suppose you're going to tell me there was no one at the door, too.
What door?
Balky goes, what door?
That door, that closet.
Yeah.
He's like, you think I'm crazy? At which point, Balky puts out his hand and shakes it back and forth. Well, a little bit. And then Larry slaps his hand. Balky slaps Larry. And then Larry just grabs him by the shirt and pulls him.
Very, very funny back and forth.
He goes, okay, fine. You didn't lock me in the closet. There was no one at the door. We're not having this conversation. This whole day has been part of some cosmic cruelty joke. Ha! Fine. And he walks away and he goes, oh, and there's a lot of like sharp turning to each other in the scene, which is it's so good.
It becomes their signature, physical comedy thing.
And he turns back to Balky, and Balky's shirt is still all pulled out from when he grabbed it. He goes, oh, if Tony Perkins shows up wearing a house dress and carrying a very large kitchen knife, tell him I'm in the shower. That is a movie reference, Sophia. You know that one?
Yeah, of course. That's from Psycho, the classic right. Alfred Hitchcock. So this is now our second Hitchcock reference.
Oh, yeah, they had the birds
in this
with
season. They had the birds. With
I like
Tippi
this.
Hedren.
Hey, if you were going to reference good filmmakers, then Hitchcock is definitely one. Of course, Tony Perkins playing Norman Bates, and in Psycho, and the large knife, and shower.
Right. So the implication is, I want that guy to come kill me in the shower. Tell him I'm in the shower.
Yes. It's like, tell him I'm waiting for him. So anyways, Larry walks away to just decompress, take a shower. There's a quick bit. The phone rings. It's Larry's mom. Balky she's trying to stall. Tells him Larry lost his voice, and he holds up the phone.
It's Larry's mom calling to wish him a happy birthday.
It's not that funny, but it gets us to maybe the funniest
part. The funniest
gag of the episode.
Listen, Imran and listener, I have now watched this episode maybe 3 or 4 times.
Oh my God.
And I bust out laughing at this part every single time.
Oh my God.
So,
what are we talking about?
Larry turns and goes to his bedroom to go to bed down the hall. And there's a knock at the door, and it's a guy delivering a cake. And so Balky takes the cake and he's like, oh man, now what? And then Larry comes out of the bathroom grumbling. And so Balky kind of has to hide the cake, right? So he's doing all he can to cover it with his body. And then Larry goes back down the hall. And in the meantime, so this is the bit, okay? Balky goes to the window. He sets the cake on the table. It's in a box, a pink bakery box. He goes to the window. He opens the window all the way up. Then he goes back to the cake box on the table. He grabs the cake from inside the box and heads to the window. And he's about to just toss the cake out the open window, but the window slides down and closes right at the perfect moment. And the cake smashes into the closed window. And when that cake hits the window, every single time I crack up. I don't know what it is, but it's so freaking funny.
It's just the way he launches it and it goes splat. Look,
it just goes splat into the window.
When you see somebody get hit with a cream pie, clowns, that's always funny. It's that same thing. Splat into the window. Balky's trying to scrape it off real quick as Larry comes into the living room, and he just turns around and stands like Jesus with his arms outstretched, trying to cover the cake on the window.
The cake smush on the window, just with his body.
And then I love this part. Larry is so in his head. He's like, okay, time to take control of the situation. He grabs the want ads. He goes, it's time to face reality. And he's opening the paper, and then he turns and looks right at Balky, who is standing. You could see cake from behind him.
He is still trying to cover this cake with his arms spread and standing in front.
Larry looks right at him and goes, I like that shirt. And then walks away. And I love this little Easter egg. If you notice the newspaper he is looking through, it's a copy of the Chicago Chronicle. This is the paper they will be working at in season 3, and that's the end of Act 2. Oh my God, that cake bit is so funny.
I wonder how many takes they had to do to time that window and the cake.
That's one you want to get on the first time because the audience is not expecting that.
But I don't know. I've watched it 4 times now, and I expect it now, and it's still pretty funny.
It's funny. every time.
Something about a cake smashing into a window is so funny.
Splatter. So Act 3 opens later that night. It's the middle of the night. And everything's dark. Balky's sleeping. When Larry comes out, he can't sleep. He turns the light on. He is still upset, and he's upset that Balky is dead asleep with his alphabet blanket and Dimitri.
Well, he's upset that he's having a personal life crisis, and Balky is soundly sleeping.
Yes, it is the middle of the night.
Yes. And Larry clearly needs attention and comforting, and Balky's asleep. He's trying to wake him up, and Balky doesn't wake up. So Larry makes a wolf howling sound.
Oh,
exactly.
And then Balky suddenly sits up, going, "Wolf in the flock, wolf in the flock." And then Balky comes down, and Larry goes, "Nightmare." Balky looks at him and goes, "Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that." It is 2 a.m. in the morning, Sophia, and Larry has realized he's a failure. He says, "I'm a failure. The only job I'm actually qualified for is a clerk in a discount store." To which Balky says, "Good news, you got that job already."
That's also a very funny line. Larry is convinced he's a loser, and he says to Balky, the proof of it is that no one even acknowledged his birthday.
I hate people like this. Can I just tell you? When they're like, I don't want anything for my birthday. Don't make a big fuss. Please don't. You know they don't mean it. You know they never mean it.
But Balky is not American. He's not accustomed to these cultural things. He didn't know how to read between the lines.
He's take things literal guy.
So Balky says, "But cousin, you said you didn't want anyone to even tell you happy birthday."
Larry says, "Sure, I said it. I didn't mean it."
And Balky is finding this hard to believe. He said, "Yes, you did."
"Yes, you did." I love his eyes go wide open. He's like, "Yes, you did." He goes, "No, I didn't." Balky goes, "Well, you fooled me, buddy."
And poor Larry is just reveling in his misery. He says, "No one acknowledged my birthday. Not Tina, not Susan, not even my mom. I thought at least my mom liked me." Rough, because Balky, of course, fielded a phone call from his mother and did the best he could to shield Larry from it, because that's what he thought he wanted. And then he turns on Balky. He says, "Even you, my best friend, didn't go to the trouble of getting a simple card to say, 'Happy birthday, cousin Larry. You may be a failure in every other area of your life, but at least you have one friend.'"
Balky goes, "Now, cousin, wait a minute." Larry goes, "Too little, too late." Wow. Talk about turning on. I feel so bad for Balky at this point. And as Larry's heading back to his bedroom, he's like, do you think I could? Maybe. And then Balky just hands him Dimitri, and he cuddles it. And he goes, "Thanks. I'm pathetic."
And the scene ends in the dark living room, but Balky is still sitting up in his bed and sort of like rubbing his chin.
You know what that means. Whenever a character rubs his chin in the dark.
Classic chin rub.
I think Balky has an idea.
In fact, he does. The next scene opens, still in the dark apartment, and Balky's like throwing pots on the ground in the living room, trying to make some noise, trying to get Larry to wake up and come out of his room. And he does, but he thinks he's being robbed. So he's like got some kind of trophy in his hand. Anyway, the lights go on and a bunch of people are there, yell surprise.
Surprise!
Surprise! And he's like, "What is this, a surprise burglary?"
That's great. And even Balky scares him. He goes, "No, surprise. I threw you a surprise birthday party."
So poor, sweet Balky has gone out to find...
There's a group of random people in the living room
for another surprise birthday party at 3 a.m.
Larry's like, it's 3 a.m. Who are you people? Because it's just random people. So Balky introduces him to Max from the newsstand, of course, Officer Finley, nice CPD, and Sandra from the donut shop.
And there's like a bunch of other people there too.
But at which point Larry pulls him aside and he goes, "Balky, these aren't my friends." He goes, "Yeah, I know. I tried calling your friends, but it's 3 a.m. This is the only people I could get here. This is going to have to do."
So there's all these random characters in their apartment, and there's this like old kooky man who asks if they have a corkscrew, and Larry sends him to the kitchen. He's like, "Who was that?" And Balky says, "Oh, I know. I think that might be a friend of Lou." And Larry says, "Who's Lou?"
Who's Lou? just that a big bald dude with, he's got a jacket with no sleeves and he's all muscular. He walks up and Larry goes, "Are you Lou?" And the guy just goes, "Snake." And offers his hand. He also has a tattoo on a snake of his arm. So I believe him. That's Snake. It's his name. Snake says he tagged along at the donut shop when everyone was leaving the donut shop. I love when he goes, "Snake."
So Balky just went into a donut shop and brought the woman who works there, a policeman,
I'm surprised there's
some dude named Snake, everyone who's in the donut shop.
He didn't find any prostitutes. I'm surprised.
Whatever was open at 3 a.m. I don't know if prostitutes hang out at the donut shop because that's where the cops are.
Have you been to the donut shop I go to? I don't know.
We find out who Lou is. He's standing next to Officer Finley. And he's in fact handcuffed to Officer Finley.
Yes, we find that out later as they leave. But they give Larry a present. They have a present in a box.
Yes, and it's Crullers.
It's Crullers, of course.
And he says, "Crullers, how did you know?" And the donut shop lady's like, "I didn't. They just go with every occasion," or something like that.
They certainly do. And then Larry's and then they all wanted him to give a speech. And he gets a speech, and he says really true things. He's just standing around going, "I just want you to know that it's times like this a man realizes who his friends are. So I just want to say thank you." And he goes, "I'll never forget this birthday as long as I live." Yeah. All true. Those are all true statements.
And they sing him happy birthday, and he has to tell them his name is Larry when they get to the name part. And he blows out a candle, and Balky's feeling very happy and excited. And
lesson time, everyone.
Later that evening, everyone leaves or morning, and now we're left with Balky and Larry in the apartment, and it's lesson time.
They're cleaning up, and Larry is really, you could see in his face, he had a great time, and he says some really sweet things. He says, "Balky, believe it or not, this is one of the best birthdays I've ever had." And Balky goes, "Oh, now you see you're not a failure because you have friends." And he says, "Thank you, Balky. That was one of the nicest things anybody's ever done for me." And then he goes, "Oh, cousin, I threw it together at the last minute. Twice." Which he did.
And then Larry says, "I learned something else tonight. Are there 2 lessons?"
There might be. Oh, my God. Bonus.
Larry learned something else. He says, "I can't give up my dream of becoming a photojournalism." And Balky goes, "Why not?"
Why not?
And Larry says, "Well, for one thing, it's the only dream I've got." And then he says, "But who was it that said you can't set your watch by a dream? They operate on schedules all their own." And Balky very sweetly replies, "I said that.
Oh,
I wrote it in your birthday card." And he's very touched. He's
adorable.
Very touched.
He quoted Balky. That was so nice. Then Larry goes, "Thanks, Balky, for the party, for helping me keep my dream alive." Balky says, "Well, cousin, that's what friends do." He starts getting into bed. They say goodnight. Larry says goodnight, walks back to his bedroom. The minute he shuts his door, the bathroom door opens. It's the old dude. He's still there. The old wino steps out and goes, "I think we're out of ice."
And
roll credits.
Here is my one gripe about this whole episode.
All right, let's get it. I got some comments about this episode. Let's get into it.
We get through the whole thing and the lesson. Now, we had that one line from Balky that said he threw it together at the last minute twice, but it's kind of a throwaway. And Larry never acknowledges that. Does Larry even ever find out that Balky, in fact, did plan a surprise party for him in the first place, like a regular with all their friends? Poor Balky, he went through all this stuff, and Larry, in the end, Larry just thinks Balky found some people at a donut shop at 3 a.m.
last minute because he complained about it. Do you think, look, the next time he talks to Susan or Tina, maybe they tell him, we're never going to know because they wrote him off the show. So I would like to think
I feel
later.
For Balky.
I would like to think later Larry does find out from the actual friends that, hey, we were over the other night for a surprise birthday party. What happened? And then he has to embarrassingly tell them that he's an idiot. And just thanks. Sorry for wasting your time. And Balky is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I can admit it now.
That was the one thought. I was angry at the end. I was like, wait a minute. And Balky never speaks up and says, wait, I did throw you a party. And I had a cake and I had cards and I had a banner.
He had a lot of things he tried. He should have just stuck with that. Also, this episode also really nails home the overall theme of this series, which is the idea of having a dream and working hard to pursue the dream. Balky coming to America, not giving up, no matter what. and the importance of supporting your friends, trusting your friends.
And that they're best friends. Yeah. At the end of every episode this season, we get that reinforced. Like they are now best friends.
Yeah, Larry says it at the end too. He's like, "You're my best friend." So,
yes.
Aw. All right, let's move on to. We got a bunch of catchphrases. Don't be ridiculous. Said only once this time.
But we have. Don't you ever do that again.
I missed an opopo. I could have used an opopo.
Yeah, there were no opopos in this episode. I missed it too.
I missed this other. This is another great Balkyism that we missed when he's at the party and he goes, "Okay, now you go mix and mangle."
Mix and mangle.
Mix and mangle. That's about it for the catchphrases. Sophia, now that we've gotten to the end of season 1 of Perfect Strangers, do you have any quick overall thoughts over the whole season?
For 6 episodes, for a shortened season, I think they did really well for 1986. We have established a lot of backstory for both characters. Well, not backstory, but like we've learned a lot about who they are and how they operate, their personalities and their neuroses.
The tropes are established. Their neuroses, their personality, yeah.
And over 6 episodes, these two have not only met each other, but they've become best friends. They have some other friends that we know a little bit about, not too much, but they become best friends. They work together. They live together, and they teach each other lessons at the end of every episode. Yeah,
it's a great odd couple setup. Here's what I find is interesting about this first season. Now, famously, back in the day, even up until the 90s. Many first seasons of really popular shows are not good. You can go back and watch the first season of Seinfeld. It is not their strongest season by any chance. Same thing with I think The Office a little bit and some of the older shows. But back in the day, networks allowed these creators to work out shows over multiple seasons. So they knew, you're getting these casts together. The chemistry takes time. It takes time to perfect things. So shows wouldn't get good until a couple of seasons in. I think this show is the exception where their chemistry from the get-go clicks so much. Like, this is actually a very decent, granted, it's 6 episodes. It's an amazing start to the show. It's a solid first season. It does get funnier. Like, the seasons get funnier. The writers get more. But I just like that you could watch them develop the characters in the show. Nowadays, Sophia, with streaming and especially Netflix is the biggest offender of this. Netflix will cancel shows that people love. They'll cancel a show after 1 season. They won't even give it a chance. They canceled Glow, which was a fan favorite show. Yeah. They canceled, there was a show Away that got about a mission to Mars. They canceled that. Dark Crystal.
Every news show from a comedian.
Yes, Hassan Minhaj. And so now it's really hard because you got to think of the pressure. Like, if this show isn't funny at the get-go, you're going to get canceled. But that's almost like you don't get a chance to develop it. You need a chance to develop it. So solid first season from The Perfect Strangers, obviously,
Solid first season. They did get picked up for more episodes. So,
and they come back in that same calendar year, 1986, season 2. Starts, just a few months later from when this thing airs. Okay, to finish the show, Sophia, I found some fun audio.
Fun audio? What could it be?
What are we talking about?
Well, you find the craziest things on Twitter. Let me tell you what, when you go looking for things. This is from a Twitter user, Teresa Hui, who's at Ruben Butte on Twitter. She says, taking it back to the 80s, here's my ukulele cover of the Perfect Strangers theme song. Perfect Strangers was one of my favorite TV shows as a kid. Love me some Mark Lynn-Baker, Bronson Pinchot. # America or Burst. Now, when we started to talking about the show and I was starting to get stuff together, I was looking for someone. I was looking for a cover of the theme song. And you know what?
Here it is.
I couldn't find it. Nobody has covered this. I actually, I'll tell you later. Here it is. We're going to listen to this whole thing. It's quite lovely. Here's Teresa Hui.
Let's do it. Beautiful voice.
Sometimes the world looks perfect. Nothing to you just get a feeling like you need some kind of change.
Yeah, she can sing.
No matter what the odds are this time, nothing's gonna stand in my way.
Sing it.
This flame in my heart, like a long lost friend, gives every dark street a light at the end. Standing tall are the wings of my dream. Rise and fall on the wings of my dream. Rain and thunder, wind and haze, I'm bound for better days. It's my life and my dream, nothing's gonna stop me now. It's my life and my dream, nothing's gonna stop me now. Ba-da-da-ba-ya-da-da-da-ba.
Aww.
So
Oh my God.
lovely.
I love ukulele covers. And like, if the show was set in Hawaii, this would be the theme
So
song.
lovely.
That
You know,
would be
I
the theme
don't
song.
think that Bronson Pinchot is on Twitter as much as he's on Instagram, but if she
No.
puts that on Instagram, he
Right.
would definitely repost it.
I looked up the chords on guitar for the theme song and I could play it. It's very straightforward.
Nice.
I just can't sing though. We need someone to sing it for us. So maybe during the course of the show, maybe we got a cover of the Perfect Strangers theme song.
Let's make our own.
That's it. Season 1 finale,
Season
everybody.
1 finale. We made it. We made
Coffins should
it.
joke more.
Yes, they should.
Oh, and they will. We're going to get to season 2 next
I'm
week,
so
listener.
excited. Season 2 coming up. Stick with us. In the meantime, please get in touch. You can find our show on all the podcast apps. Please find us, subscribe, show us some love. Next week, we'll get into the season 2 premiere, which is called Hello Baby.
See what I
Another use of the word baby.
We go from Happy Birthday Baby to Hello Baby. I wonder what that episode's going to be about.
I wonder what.
Listener, you could be part of the show. We want to hear from you. Literally, leave us a voice message. Leave us a speak pipe. Visit speakpipe.com/danceofjoypod, and you can click it right on your phone. Leave us a 90-second voice message. We'll play it on the show. You're a part of the show. Boom, boom, bap, boom, just like that.
If you don't want to leave a voice message, as writing is more your thing, you can do that too. Email us at danceofjoypod@gmail.com. You can check out our website, danceofjoypod.com. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, all at danceofjoypod.
And we have a Facebook group. Join that. Get in there. Let's geek out about Perfect Strangers. And the most important thing, listener, we need you to do is share this show with a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to grow a podcast audience. We would love for you to recommend the show to all your peeps that grew up watching the show or maybe haven't and you want to turn them on
And
to
listen,
Perfect Strangers.
Imran and I, we just love this show and we want everyone to watch it. So spread the word, get people watching the show, watch along with us and this podcast.
Thanks. We'll peep you next week, listener.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy. Hey, 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 hey.